I don't know about you, but the most interesting and exciting business actually at Tesla is the humanoid bot called Optimus. And of course, I am the optimist, but Elon might even be more optimistic than me, or maybe he's just in the same ballpark. If Elon is right, and it's a fool's errand to ever bet against Elon, the market for Optimus is about 24 billion units. Now that where did Elon come up with 24 billion units? Well, that would be three for every human on the planet. Roughly speaking, that would be one or two to be placed in service in, like building and cleaning things up and securing things and manufacturing things and wholesaling things. And, they would just be everywhere in terms of operating businesses and that type of thing. The other one third, roughly, or one each per human being on the planet, would be in service to one human on the planet. Because Elon says that if all of this stuff comes true that he thinks is going to come true with the bots and with AI, we'll be in a world of absolute plenty, of abundance, even where anybody will be able to have anything they want. And if you want to have one robot friend, one robot masseuse, one robot cook, the guy, this robot will be able to do all of those things and then some. So it'll be able to walk your dog, take care of your kids, it'll be an amazing bot. And maybe some people want to have more than one, but it seems excessive anyway. But he thinks, therefore, that would be the total TAM would be about 24 billion units. Let's say he's wrong by, I don't know, uh, a power of 10. Let's say it's only 2.4 billion units. That would still be one of the best-selling products of all time, on the order of cell phones. I forget what the numbers are exactly, but I think maybe there's that many cell phones in the world today, maybe a few more. I think maybe two-thirds of humans on the planet now have a cell phone, so it might be around 5 billion. But anyway, it's up there along with cell phones. But cell phones sell for, $400 to $1,000 each, as opposed to these selling for certainly at a minimum of $20,000 a piece, making it, as he said, the most successful, eventually will be the most successful product ever in history. All right. So I assume that that's clear. I think it's obvious. If it's not, let me know in the comments below, but it just seems like that is the way it'll be. If they can produce a bot, and it looks like they're going to do it, that can basically do it all, as well as, or maybe even better than a human at almost every single task, then there's almost no reason to think that there wouldn't be billions and billions of these. All right. Now, this is the place where it gets a little harder for people to wrap their arms around the concept. So with this massive TAM, you would imagine, as a business owner, I've always been trained that I want to get the most I can possibly get for my product. So if I can build this bot for $5,000 or $10,000 and sell it for 100 grand, I want to do it. And in the beginning, it would seem like every single company in the world would be fighting to be first in line for these, just like I think is going to happen with the Tesla Semi. Is the companies that don't have an autonomous electric vehicle, even if they don't have the electric vehicle, they're going to be at a disadvantage. But then if they have an electric vehicle, but it's not autonomous, they'll be at an even bigger disadvantage. So it would seem again that Tesla should be able to sell those semis if they can do it, especially if they're autonomous. They should be able to sell them for whatever they want to, for 200,000. I mean, for $500,000 a piece, 400,000. But they're talking about selling them for the same price as diesel, or maybe just a little bit more. Anyway, far be it from me to figure this out. Elon has also talked about selling these someday for $20,000, $25,000 each. But he's also talked that maybe in the beginning they'd be leased. And I think it's going to be extremely confusing out there at first, because you're going to have 100 or more companies with various bots that can do various tasks. And some can do them better, some can do them worse, faster, slower, more sophisticated, less sophisticated, easier to get started. All kinds of differences between these various humanoid robots. So maybe some of them will be making them for 10,000 and selling them for 20, which would be a good deal. if you're going to if your first sale is double, if you're making 50%, that was my goal with my manufacturing company, was to make double, make a 50% margin on the things that I sold to the first customer. Now, not to OEMs, but to wholesalers. And then if I was selling to retailers or to retail, to consumers, obviously I had an even bigger margin. But on an item this expensive, you would normally be happy to take much less than a 50% margin. But let's just say for fun that a lot of companies that are out there, out of those 100 plus that'll probably be doing it, some might be willing to, if they build it for 10, they might be willing to sell it for 20. Well, then Elon comes, if I was Elon and I came along and said, well, I've got this bot, it's a lot better than their bot, and I want to charge you $50,000 a year, not $20,000 one time, but $50,000 a year. The question then becomes, will somebody pay that $50,000 a year, or will they wait for the 20,000? But the guy that's got the 20,000 bot, if it's any good, his waiting time is going to be years and years and years. So I just don't know how that's all going to work out. And the guy that's got the one for 10,000, he's selling for 20,000. He takes a look at that and he goes, why am I selling it for 20,000 if I've got a waiting list for years? And so he'd raise his price. It's going to be interesting to see how this all works out. I can't think of a product ever in history that's had this kind of a situation where you could pretty much, because the value, the bot throws off a value. It is worth a couple of $100,000 if you've got 4 shifts at your factory. If you have 3, maybe it's worth 150,000. If you got 2 shifts, maybe 100,000. And if you've got 1 shift, it's still worth $50,000 a year. Or maybe close. Take a number slightly less than that, okay? But that's what it's worth. So selling them for $50,000 a year in the beginning would seem like a no-brainer. Now, that might happen. It may not happen. But here's what happens. Here's what happens. All right. So if you sell them for $60,000 a year, and that's a lot of people have agreed with my estimate on that. I came up with that estimate a very long time ago, and a whole bunch of people since then have tried all kinds of different methods to figure out how much that they should charge per year. And most people came around with about the same number. But if you want to get to a 25 trillion market cap, you don't need to charge nearly that much. So if you have a 5 trillion, if you have a 25 million market cap, which is what Elon said we'd be going for, but he also said that 5 trillion of that would be robotaxi. All right. So that means you only need 20 trillion of market cap to come from the bots. Now let's just take that Apple, NVIDIA range of PE. Let's just take a 25 PE. By the time you're that size, it's hard to imagine that it's going to be 100 PE or 60. Let's take a 25 PE. All right. And then that would mean that the bots have to create 1 trillion in earnings. I'm sorry, that the entire company has to create 1 trillion in earnings, or the bots would have to create 800 billion from just the bots, because the other 200 billion would come from everything else. Now, keep in mind, Apple is earning about 100 billion. So that's you can get kind of it's not like an impossible number that they would get 800 billion from Optimus, another 150 billion from robotaxis, and 50 billion from everything else. And it's not crazy, but this would be about 8 times Apple. So in order to have a profit of 800 billion and using my estimate of $60,000 per year, you only need to deploy 1,300,000 bots. I'm not taking into consideration overhead or anything like that, but just as a rough number, only have to deploy 1.3 million bots. So if you make 100,000 in 2026 and 500,000 in 2027 and 1 million in 2028, you're there. You already deployed it if you can charge 60,000. Okay. All right. Now, but what about the opposite? What if you say we're only going to make a profit of 5,000? So you're not going to get an annual amount coming in. No, you're going to make them for 10,000 and sell them for 15,000. You're only going to make $5,000 each. You say, you know what? It's plenty. I don't need any more than that. Well, then you still only need to make 16 million a year. 16 million a year when the total TAM is 24 billion, or even if it's only 2.4 billion. 16 million a year is a drop, so to speak, in the bucket. It is a very, very small part of the total TAM that's out there. So if you make 16 million, and making 16 million a year, I mean, this is like not that hard. It would be very easy to set up to make 16 million. When I say easy, you know what I mean. I mean, once you make it, you can cut and paste and you can get up to 16 million really easily. And I don't think it certainly wouldn't be an issue with the cost of development and tooling and all the rest. That would be the least of your worries. So is this all? So 16 million a year and a $5,000 profit, 8 million a year and a $10,000 profit, 4 million a year and a $20,000 profit, and you're at Elon's number. So when he puts the number out there, 25 trillion, it sounds crazy, which, you know, would be, you know, a very, very big deal, $800 a share, 30 times where we are today. So you like those stocks that get a 30x, right? And 16 million a year, I think by the end of this decade, absolutely. I don't think that would be that hard. In fact, I think that would be like a minimum number. Remember, he was going to make 20 million cars a year, and that assumes all different styles and development and all the size of the plants and everything has to be. This is a much, much easier job. All right, now I want to talk about, for the time we have left here, I want to talk about the what do you want to call it? The moats. Remember what moats are. In business, you'd like to have moats. Everybody, smart people always talk about the moats that a business has. They're going to keep the competition away. Now, I happen to believe that on most, well, let's just say on Optimus robot, the moat doesn't matter. I'm going to say it doesn't matter, and then I'm going to tell you the moats. I'm going to say it doesn't matter, because if every one of those 100 companies got into business and made good money, you know, you just saw if they could make 1 million of them and put them out at 60,000 a year, they've got, I mean, huge amounts of money. So, but let's say, you know, everything changes, everything gets easier. The bots are building bots, and so the cost to build the bot is only 5,000, and instead of 10,000, or maybe it's 4,000, and maybe you sell them for 8,000, and you only make $4,000. You know, it takes more. But if you multiply 100 times 16,000, it's 160 million, and that's still a drop in the bucket. So anyway, let's go ahead and let's is it 16 million? No, 60 million. 160 million, 1.6 billion. Okay, that would start to, if you had 100 companies doing 16 million, that would start to eat up the TAM pretty fast. All right, I'm sorry, power 10 again. All right, let's talk about the moats. Let's just go through them real quick here. All right, first of all, you got Elon Musk. Now, if you've ever had a doubt about Elon's capabilities as an entrepreneur, a leader, a promoter, an engineer, those have been put to rest, I think, at this point, when Mechazilla, you know, caught the rocket in midair, or when Elon jumped on the Trump bandwagon and has created more publicity and more promotion and more opportunity in a few weeks than most campaigns create when they have a head of steam for, you know, 4 years heading into an election. Promotion, yeah, all over the place. And I currently believe, of course, that all that promotion is going to end up impacting the sales at Tesla. And then you can add in the fact that he's now has by far the largest computer in the world up at the Memphis, and he's going to double it. And if you watched last night, and you should have watched last night, if you didn't watch it, last night with Brian Wong explained how he's going to be ahead. He's going to be ahead of OpenAI and Microsoft. Everybody else, they won't have a chance. It's all over. I mean, it's seriously all over because of the rapidity, how quickly that he can build the facilities, outfit the facilities, and then turn on the equipment. Nobody's in the ballpark of doing it as fast. it's just a matter of time before he's going to be so far ahead that nobody will be able to catch him. So he is amazing on so many levels. And some argue that he's already as famous as Trump. He and Trump are probably the number one and number two most famous individuals in the world right now. And there can be little doubt that he will keep Optimus in the lead, both in value and spec, not to mention manufacturing prowess. He's going to be so far ahead of the other companies in that regard. So I'm saying Elon Musk is the number one moat. As long as he's there, I think that's not a problem. So batteries. Well, every single one of these things is going to take a battery, and the better the battery, and the longer the battery lasts, and the easier it is to charge, and the less frequently you have to deal with the battery, and the low cost of the battery. All that's going to matter. Well, as a primary manufacturer of their own batteries, and likely also, in addition to being a primary manufacturer, the number one customer, I'm sure, of CATL, probably the number one customer of Samsung, definitely the number one customer of Panasonic, for the various kinds of batteries that are being used in the vehicles and that will now be used in the robot. In addition, he has a great relationship with BYD. I know they already have some deals together. They buy and sell from each other. I'm not sure whether it's batteries or just exactly what. But anyway, there's no way that Tesla's ever going to lose the ability to have the right price and the right specs for batteries. Even if tomorrow somebody came out with a solid state or some other miracle battery, it's going to take years and years and years to ramp it up to the necessary numbers to be able to, feed into all the millions and millions and millions of cars and trucks that are going to be sold. And by that time, Elon would either have reverse engineered it, bought the company probably, or licensed it, made it himself, or buying the product from this new manufacturer, because of course, as the largest guy on the block, that's who you want to sell. I've been in that position many, many times. I can remember when the largest guy on the block was Sears Roebuck. That's how old I am. All right, and it changed, didn't it? All right, technology between Tesla, xAI, and SpaceX. It is hard to contemplate what the tech would be that Elon Musk doesn't have the lead in. And we haven't even talked about Neuralink or Boring Company or X. He's got the lead in all these technologies. And even X, if you talk about technologies, it's a social media platform that's going to be an everything platform, including financial matters. So he's got the lead in dozens and dozens of areas in technology. The critical ones for Optimus are the chip and the software, and not to mention the battery, but those leads we just talked about, those are unreal. Even when it comes to motors and actuators, I think I would be right to say that Tesla is far in the lead in motors and actuators and is likely to stay there. So a combination of all of those things. Building the software in-house. They have developed this chip years and years and years ago for the FSD, and that FSD chip is what's going to be used in the bots. And it's inexpensive. They're building it millions and millions at a time, so the price is low. They've already got the technology done. They don't have to worry about how it's going to mess up. And in addition to that, I'm sure they're working on we know they're working on AI4, AI5, AI6. All the upgrades coming are in the pipeline now. In addition, it's very low powered. And that's a very big deal when it comes to the Optimus. And Elon has talked about that over and over again. So I don't think anybody catches him on the FSD chip. In fact, it's pretty likely that other robot companies are going to want to buy the FSD chip from Tesla. A crazy fan base. Elon Musk has more fans on X than anybody else by a long shot. I think he's now crossed 200 million. And the next one in line is like 130 or something, 100, I don't know, but not much, not close. So, everybody's been kidding about whether Tesla will come out with a phone. Believe me, if Tesla came out with a phone tomorrow, they would sell millions just to the fans. So those fans are already champing at the bit to buy an Optimus. Many of them have said they would pay $30,000 just to be the first person on their block to have one. Can you imagine, the guys in the All In podcast, just start going down the list. All these people that you and I know that have, millions to play with would plunk down their 30,000 in a flat minute in order to be able to just to have that. Well, you just saw what happened with Cybertruck, $120,000. And people are just like, yeah, absolutely, send me one. So yeah, that is a huge moat, a massive moat. There's no possibility, no chance that any of these other leaders, as interesting and fun to watch as Jensen Huang is, he is not going to ever get into the same category as Elon in terms of having a fan base. Okay, what about the vertical? Well, almost the entire product is going to be made in-house. Now, Brett Adcock has said that Figure is going to make their entire product in-house too. It's going to be very, very vertical. That's challenging. I hope Brett knows. I mean, I did it. I went from virtual to vertical, but I was making a water bottle with a cap and printing on it. That was a lot different than making a bot where all of the components or almost all the components are made in-house. Anyway, we'll see what happens on that one. Brand ID, the Tesla brand is one of the top, I think it's in the top 10 now of all the brands in the world. I mean, it's up there with Apple and Coca-Cola and, all Mercedes, all these brands. It is way up at the top, recognized for quality, recognized for value. And so just the fact that the product has that brand on it, you think that any of these other companies are going to be able to catch Tesla on the brand ID of the bot? Not a chance. Balance sheet. Okay. Unlike most other bot companies, a couple of the other bot companies, that are saying they're going to be in the bot business have pretty good balance sheets also, but $34 billion in the bank with no debt? No. Stand alone. Tesla stands alone and nobody's going to catch them. Well, not until we start making. Now, if all of a sudden Figure AI sells, or rents out 1 million of them for $60,000 a piece, I guess their balance sheet, $60,000 a year, their balance sheet's going to get good really fast. But by that time, Tesla's probably doing double. The best engineers by far, as noted many times before on this space, Tesla is commonly the very first choice of graduating engineers as a place where they want to work. When they're polled, yeah, we want to work at Tesla. Or sometimes Tesla falls to number 2, only to be replaced by number 1, SpaceX. Generally speaking, over the last 10 years, I don't think there's been a year over the last 10 years where SpaceX and Tesla haven't been number 1 and number 2 as to where engineers want to go to work. Well, you don't think the robot thing is going to make it an even more interesting place to go to work? Oh, absolutely. Data. Tesla already leads by far, not close, in real-world data due to the vehicles and all those cameras. But even on the more specific tasks that are going to be required for Optimus, Tesla will be generating massive amounts of data in 2025 as they deploy thousands of Optimi in their own factories. So between the data that they're going to be getting from the actual cameras and the synthetic data that they're going to be creating and all the other kinds of ways they're going to be doing it because they're so good at this, again, catching up to Tesla in real-world data seems to me at this point to be an impossibility. Nobody is going to catch them in real-world data. Okay, let me know what I've missed. Maybe maybe there's a couple of other areas of moats that you think I should have included. Maybe you think that you can figure out what's going to happen to the marketplace when they come out with the bots in a couple of years. I mean, some of them are going to start selling them next year. And one company in China has already got as low as a $16,000 price tag. Another one's got $60,000. So one of the U.S. makers, I think, is around $110,000. So there are some prices out there right now where people are selling them, not leasing them. How's that all going to play out? Maybe you have a really good idea. Let me know in the comments below. Maybe you think I've missed something in terms of forgetting to clean my lens. And somebody mentioned that to me on X today that I should have cleaned my lens. And now that I'm looking at myself, I'm a little hazy. So I will clean my lens as soon as the show is over on that. Okay, now listen, you got to like this one. Did you like it? Let me know. Hit the like button so I know you liked it. Hit subscribe and notify. Later tonight should be Jeff Lutz. I've got a call into him. I haven't heard back from him, but I think he's going to be on tonight. As far as yesterday is concerned, there's that card again on that Brian Wong video from last night because that one was special. Very, very special. You need to go back and check that out. All right. From the Fuzzy Randy, I'll say for now that it's been great talking to you.